Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet the State Program Manager for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. She's going to talk about the history of this wonderful organization and what lies ahead. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, if you go back historically, like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, the country was pretty permissive when it came to drunk driving. It was only after Mothers Against Drunk Driving launched in 1980 that things began to change. To talk about that today, Emma Dugas. She is the MADD State Program Manager. Thanks for coming on the show.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really happy to share our mission.
So we gave the date, 1980. Man, that was a long time ago. That was 40 plus years ago.
Yep, absolutely. Over 40 years. A mother lost her 13-year-old daughter to a drunk driver, so she started MADD, and now we are nationwide. We're one of the largest nonprofits in the United States that focus on supporting victims who lost loved ones to these crashes.
And it's not just drunk driving.
That's absolutely right. We were seeing a lot of poly use out there, so we saw a lot of not only alcohol but also drugs as well, so we added drug driving to our mission.
And we're going to pull up the website, and as we scroll down the website, let's talk about some of the things that you guys do. It's not just education, it's also reminding judges, right? And you guys go to courtrooms?
Absolutely. So our victim services team, they actually go to court with our victim families and help guide them through that process. The average DWI case can last anywhere from 18 months to 24 months. And that can be a long time for a family to get justice for their loved one. So our victim services team works with the prosecutor to help the families understand that process and walk them through it so they can get to that justice. And they also, our team provides what's called an impact statement. So this is when, right before the judge will sentence the offenders, they allow the family to come up on the stand and read their impact statement to their offender and say what they want to say. And we have a guide that will help the family write everything out.
Wow. And the court system's got much more serious about this, haven't they?
Yes, we look into those sanctions, and we want to make sure that the full extent of punishment is carried out.
Sure. I found a great video. It was done 2 years ago, but let's go ahead and roll it.
My daughter Patty, at age 10, and this is her picture, was the youngest child killed in the nation's deadliest drunk driving crash. A repeat offender drunk driver crashed head-on into a church bus, and the result of the ensuing fire was the death of 27 people.
Well, my husband and I were headed home when we were rear-ended by a young man who thought he could drink and drive, and our car toppled over. So the kids and I were thrown out. My husband got out of the car with one shoe and burned the meat from his hands, trying to extinguish our flames. My 19-month-old nephew was burned 90%, and he lived for 6 hours. My 4-year-old daughter lived for 2 weeks. They took my unborn child by an emergency C-section in hopes that she would at least make it, and she did make it, but as a result, she's legally blind. I did make it, but I've had years of therapy, years of surgery. I suffered a broken neck, and miraculously, I was only 1/4 inch, they said, of being totally paralyzed.
This is Helen Marie, who was killed on a bright and sunny afternoon June 1st of the year 2000, rollerblading on a bike path when she was run down by a drunk and marijuana impaired 17-year-old girl.
This picture is of two of my sons. And of course, the youngest of them all was the one that was involved in a crash, or it really was a pedestrian.
My sister and her baby were killed in 1984 at 1:45 on a beautiful sunny Wednesday afternoon on their way home from a doctor's appointment.
Our daughter, Alyssa Joy Withers, was 15 years old when she was killed by a drunk driver. He was an underage driver. He lost control of the car because he was impaired and because he was speeding. As a result, Alyssa was a passenger and she was killed.
What they don't see when they choose to party, when they choose to celebrate and get intoxicated, what they don't see is the victim side. What we have to go through, the result of those who are making the wrong choice to drink and drive.
I can't tell you how much my son meant to me. It was a senseless death that didn't have to happen. All it took was someone to think just a few more seconds and realize.
You never get over the heartbreak of your children.
Drunk, impaired driving is the #1 killer on our highways.
It can happen to anybody, anytime, including the impaired driver.
It's easily prevented by just not getting behind the wheel. And I know it sounds simple, just make the right choice the next time and every time.
It's 100% preventable.
We've been working for 40 years almost, and every time we hear of another victim story, it breaks our heart. It shouldn't be happening. There's enough ways for people to get transportation.
The bottom line is that impaired driving is still as much of an issue today as it was when MADD started in the early 80s. We're still losing 10,000 Americans as a result of someone who is making the wrong choice to drink and drive.
Now my work is in her name, and she would be there saying, "Mother, say something, do something." And MADD has given me the platform to do just that. And that's why I'm here.
Wow, it's so powerful when you see the faces. Talk about your own journey. Do you have any experience with this in your family?
Unfortunately, our family lost my brother-in-law at age 23.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So we took a short break to allow Emma to compose herself. Please share the rest of the story if you can.
Sure, thank you. It was important to me to work for MADD because of their mission and how it's related to losing my brother-in-law. He struggled as a teen with drugs and alcohol, and behind that it became, him being arrested several times, him struggling in school. And so when I started working with MADD, what is really one of my passions is their underage drinking prevention programs. Because not only do we talk about crashes and the fatalities behind it, we also talk about other underage drinking related deaths, such as like homicide or suicides or alcohol poisoning. And what I love about MADD's programs is that not only do we talk about those dangers and consequences, we also talk about strategies on how to be prepared and healthy strategies to deal with those bad days and hard situations, so they can allow their brain to finish developing. Because we've learned that when you drink alcohol underage, that it has long-lasting negative effects against their growing brain. And our brains don't finish developing until mid-20s. And so that's why they changed the law to 21, So we can allow our teens to finish developing their brain so they can make good choices instead of emotional choices.
And as we show some stock footage, I want to get you to weigh in on this. I don't know that anybody ever said, I'm going to get drunk tonight and I'm going to risk other people's lives behind the wheel. It just kind of happens, doesn't it? When you're listening to the offender in court, are they saying, I thought I was okay?
That is a very common statement, that I only had 2 beers or I only had a couple of drinks. But one thing that we teach and educate the community on is any amount of alcohol in your system can impair you and not to drive safely.
Sure.
So we encourage people to use that non-drinking driver, and plan ahead. We have so many options out there. It's 100% preventable.
Yes.
And so we encourage them to do that.
Are the bars getting better about flagging potential drunk drivers and saying, sir, no, you need to take a Lyft or an Uber?
I think it could always improve. I mean, I believe that we have better resources to help them. We also have the TABC, the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission.
Sure.
They're the ones that investigate those restaurants and bars to make sure that they're in compliant.
Sure.
They also do investigations whenever there is a fatality that is related to that bar. Just an example, the detective who was killed in Lake Worth, he was a detective with the Euless Police Department. And they were able to bring in TABC to do the investigation at the restaurant he was at, and was able to investigate to where the bartender did overserve. And so they were prosecuted as well. So I think it could always get better.
Emma, we have about 2 minutes left. I want you to just look into the viewer's eyes and give one kind of final plea on why they need to kind of wake up.
Absolutely. Our deaths are going in the wrong direction. We've had over 13,000 deaths in 2021 due to alcohol-related crashes. And I encourage you to have that non-drinking driver as your option. Always plan ahead so you and your loved ones can get home safe.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. We're also going to leave with the website, which is madd.org/Texas. Emma Dugas, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.